Hi. I figured I'd start this video out the same way that James May kind of does from time to time on videos. Like, comment, and subscribe. Cool, we're done with that. Alright, this is another TwoSun here, since this is TwoSun Tuesday. This is the TS169. This is a NightMorning design. Very, very sleek, as you can see. We got a whole bunch of milling lines kind of going on around here, and kind of a center channel, which, I mean, Ray Laconico certainly does on a whole bunch of his designs. I mean, it's not exclusively to him, but yeah. We have a very, very subdued flipper tab, very much out of the way, so that's pretty darn cool. It doesn't really have jimping so much kind of going on there, but it does kind of have a little bit of a curve, and you get a decent enough grip on there too. It's right next to the blade lockup area there, so that might kind of cause a little bit of problems if you get a little bit of pocket fluff in there. But with the swing out that the thing has, I kind of doubt that it would have any problems with the lockups here. So yeah, this one has a very slight clip going on, kind of the last maybe almost inch sort of thing, but pretty darn useful kind of blade. We got a decent amount of flat here for the people who like that. We got quite a bit of belly out towards the last half of it, which I'm certainly all for. You don't have so much in the way of protection from sliding up on this guy. You do a little bit more than others because of the little bit of the flipper tab there. But you know, if your hands are super duper sweaty, this might actually become just a little bit of a problem. But with this, you can sneak up quite a bit here past that little flipper tab if you really want to get in there for some intricate work. And yeah, we have the lock bar cut out here. It actually goes right down the center of that, whatever the hell you want to call it, that little channel kind of cut there. Seeing as how this has, you know, milling that continues on both sides, I would have personally liked to have seen, you know, internal lock bar relief, just so you'd have that kind of continuous pattern sort of going on there. But that's, you know, that's pretty much a nitpick at this point. Lockup on this guy is, yeah, probably right around 50%, maybe 45, right around there. So it works out all right. And this pocket clip actually works quite well. Doesn't really bother me in the hand at all. And yeah, it does have a little divot there, but you can see that doesn't travel down through there. It does slide very nice and easily in and out of the pocket thanks to it kind of sitting in that channel right there. So that's pretty cool. And this is a very, very, very simple construction. We have basically the pivot up top here, and then pretty close to a matching set on the other side, except for that's where the clip's held. For the back spacer, we have a pen or two that's in there that we'll get to in a minute. So yeah, here's something that you should probably know about this knife, and that is it will unzip your pinky in the blink of an eye. This blade is way too close to the end here. And yeah, probably about this inch right here is large enough and close enough that, yeah, if you're kind of grabbing for it kind of casually, it's going to do some damage. I split myself open weeks ago, actually, playing around to see if that was a problem or not. And still being really, really careful. And yeah, got myself pretty darn good. I've healed up, obviously, but, you know, since it was a nice sharp blade. But, yeah, definitely something you'd want to watch out for with this. But with it being very, very slim, and that little flipper tab being very subdued and everything like that, when it's in your pocket, you know, you don't really worry about that all that much, especially if you wear this in kind of your back pocket rather than your front pocket on your right side, if you're right-handed, of course. Then when you stick it in there, this is actually pretty much up against your pants. So you really don't have too much of a problem of dragging your finger along there and getting yourself. But I do certainly want to throw that out there. We do have, they are essentially level on the front of the handle here. The frame lock liner sort of thing right here does stick up just a little bit proud. Yeah, you can see it is a bit, but it's not very much at all, which is why they've also kind of milled out a little couple of areas there so you can get your finger meat in there to close it up. And I think it works rather well. I don't fail kind of closing this thing up at all. You can see the action on it, of course, is like most TwoSuns, where it's mostly wiggle shut. And the detent ball is very, very early on this one. You know, there's it locked, and there it is in the detent ball position. So when you're closing it, by the time that happens, you're well over the detent. So it makes it fairly easy. But, you know, as I end up doing with most of my frame lock and liner lock knives, when I'm closing them, I hold them blade up, because otherwise, yeah, you just hit that and immediately comes swinging down on you. And this one, yeah, does have a blade that will come in and bite you. It'll mostly get your thumbnail. A lot of people don't care about that. Me, sometimes I got some crap on there, and my fingernails are crap anyway. So, you know, I do try to avoid that. So, yeah. If I hadn't mentioned it before, this is an M390. Seeing that it has that designation makes me think that the original version of this probably wasn't an M390. But it's the only variant I've seen so far. So, yeah. So outside of the blade being way too far to the spine of the handle there, everything else about this is pretty darn good. I wouldn't mind a little bit extra jimping kind of up here. It would probably help out a little bit for, you know, that saber kind of grip or whatnot, and probably help just a little bit if you are choking up for some detail kind of control there. That being said, I don't really think it needs it. We have a decently, it's not fully crowned, but it's definitely knocked down a little bit more than usual, so it feels a bit crowned back here. So that's kind of nice. We can also see, now that I get super duper up close and everything like that, that, yeah, the plunge grind on this thing is done pretty well. Where we can see there's the beginning of it, and making sure the light's actually getting there. And then we got, there's the end of it, and you got a bit. Probably a good, you know, 3 or 4 sharpenings or whatnot. Maybe a little bit more, depending on how hard use and or when you actually go to sharpen the thing. But yeah, it works out pretty darn well. This is not a small knife. And to prove my point there, I will go ahead and do some measurements here. Yeah, 3.6 inches, which, I don't know, it's kind of funny. Back in the day, a couple of decades ago, that would probably be considered, yeah, it's a medium-sized knife. But, you know, in today's EDC world, this thing is probably gigantic compared to what a lot of people end up carrying. Kind of like, I've heard Saul and Eric Glesser talk about back in the day that the Spyderco Endura was much more popular than the Delica, because that was just the more acceptable blade length and what people found comfortable. And over time, the Delica and of course the Native seem to beat it out in sales these days, because it's people like a little bit smaller knives. But yeah, so there we go. I do like the blade length on it. I think it's pretty darn good overall. We can see this guy is just shy. There we go. Yeah, just shy or at half inch Width, so exactly the same width of a Spyderco PM2. Which, hey, I actually have a drawer full of that crap, so I can easily and know exactly where it is to pull that out. So, yeah, there you go. There's a Spyderco PM2. It does have a little bit longer blade on there, but as far as the cutting edge, quite a bit more, because this obviously has a bit of a finger choil on there. I do kind of wish Spyderco would do some sharpening choils on their knives. That is kind of unfortunate that they don't. However, I really do appreciate their finger choils, keeping your finger well away from the blade, a lot more than quite a few other companies end up doing, where you just put your finger right next to the blade, which that can get a little hairy depending on the blade and all of that sort of stuff. Speaking of the Endura, why not? We can go ahead and do that. And yeah, obviously the Endura is going to be just a little bit longer. I don't necessarily know how many people care or not about a lot of blade comparisons, so I'll kind of leave it at that. Well, since I'm here, there we go with the Benchmade 940, which is just a tiny bit shorter. And yeah, you can see I've definitely used the heck out of that knife over the last 20 years. It is definitely drop shutty at this point, but certainly didn't start that way. So all right, now that we've gotten a little bit of those measurements out of the way, I can go ahead and see what the blade stock thickness is that we're working with. And hey, that's actually pretty darn good. 3.45, right around there. Millimeters, which is a little bit thinner than a lot of other TwoSuns kind of in this same range are. It's a full flat grind, as you can see there. So yeah, this thing does slice pretty darn good, especially your finger if you're not careful. But yeah, how about if we go ahead and take a look on the inside of this thing here. Like I said, very, very simple to disassemble. Yeah, one screw in here in the back, which is larger than a lot of their others, but still uses a T8 sort of thing here. And then we got the pivot. There we go. There we go. Yeah, so this guy does have a bit of weight relief kind of going on in here. They got pretty darn creative with the lock bar side, with a few pockets going on here, as well as, you know, some areas over here, which is great because this is also contoured with the weight relieving channel kind of going on in the middle on both of these. So quite a bit of weight relief kind of going on there. And it does have these washers with the race bearings, which I think does, at least out of the box, give you just a little bit better action overall. But yeah, very, very, very simple construction. The back piece here for the pocket clip and securing, that isn't D-shaped, but you know, that's really not that big of a deal. At least I don't really think it is. But you do have a D-shaped notch on the front here. So they almost always face in like that, so that's a good place to start for them. Yeah, I suppose also on the inside we do have an internal blade stop pin into the blade here. And it's not the most robust thing in the world, but I mean, this knife in general is not something I would consider a hard use folder or anything like that. But still works very, very nice. Locks up super nice and tight. So you really shouldn't have any problems with any of that sort of stuff. Welcome to the top of my wrist cam. I actually do appreciate just the size of the screw going on here for the clip. It is, of course, as I had putting it back in there, that the titanium clip is inset in not a circular fashion into there. So between that and that very robust screw there, this thing does go back together very, very nice and easily, and yet doesn't feel feeble or creaky or anything like that. I did mention the clip earlier. I think it's actually pretty darn easy to get in and out of my pocket. You can see that we do have a little bit of ridges there, and there is technically some of them up there, but they're very knocked down. It's not something you feel going in and out of your pocket at all. This, it's not the most deep carry thing in the world. You are going to have like a ½ inch kind of sticking up out of the top there. I'm definitely somebody who's not exactly the poster child for being super obsessed and thinking everything needs a deep carry pocket clip. You've probably heard me say that a few times. A lot of times when they're folded over and way back there, when they expect you to actually grip it back there, it just digs right into your hand, and it's really not ergonomic. But so many people demand that on their knives that that's actually something I do kind of appreciate with a lot of these TwoSun knives that are outside of their budget range. Their budget range usually does have these clips. Let's see, those are the old school clips. Let's go a little bit newer. There we go. So yeah, a lot more of their clips on their more budget models. They are stamped, they're folded over and everything, and they're much better than their original ones, but they just really get in there on you, and they're not quite as comfortable. And something that I was just saying I do appreciate a lot is that most of these guys have bespoke titanium milled pocket clips, and unless you're doing something super crazy like working with twice the thickness, which ends up being a lot of titanium waste. I mean, it gets recycled and used again, but it's, just more costly in general. You're not going to have a deep carry clip. And because of that, a lot of times they can make these a little bit flatter, a little bit more comfortable. They actually have to think them out rather than slapping a company designed pocket clip that didn't really have that design in mind. So I do really appreciate when they do the titanium milled pocket clips myself, just because I think a lot of times they're much more comfortable. So yeah, that's about everything I really have to say that I think is pertinent with this guy. I really do like the design. I do kind of wish that I could see basically either knocking that blade down so it's not quite as tall, kind of knocking it down. That way this blade isn't reachable while the thing is closed. I could see that, or I could also see them doing something like I've seen with some more recent Mazwan Mokhtars, where this backspacer actually comes basically all the way up there because he still wanted it there. Or he still wanted a really tall blade on him, but just wanted to protect it. And, that's not bad. As long as you don't get any blade wrap or anything like that, then you're all super set. But, you definitely do want to keep that in mind with this particular guy, that he can bite you just as much as you can bite other things. But otherwise, it's a very nice slender design that I think is pretty darn comfortable. Like I said, it does remind me quite a bit of a Ray Laconico design. It does kind of bow in a little bit, which is a little bit different than what I've seen on Ray's other works. But super, super nice. The blade steel on this, the M390, this one actually does a pretty good job. Obviously, it's not going to be anywhere near the level of a custom heat-treated M390 or anything like that. But as far as production sort of stuff goes, it's pretty middle of the road, So I do think that this thing does have quite a bit of value. Just, yeah, need to work on that a little bit. Maybe if this thing was popular or enough people wanted them to kind of revisit that, maybe they could fix that with an up version or something like that at a later date. I don't know. But yeah, that's everything I got to say on it. So, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day. And like the beginning of the video said, subscribe.